Hello everybody and welcome to the Week in Review, where we take an unscripted look at all the important bits of news that have come over the last week and share our thoughts about those. This week we're going to start with Atari of all companies. So Atari is a company that has gone through its ups and downs. It was recently bankrupted, or not too recently I guess, recently enough, and it has come back. And it has a new console just about to release. It's called the Atari VCS. And the console is, in principle, trying to tap into the same thing that Nintendo did with its Super NES Mini, its NES Mini, that PlayStation did with its mini PlayStation 1 console, which didn't work so well in the market, but it was certainly an attempt at it. Evercade's tried to do their own thing via third-party kind of licensing to create a new handheld console. Commodore 64 has one where you get a keyboard and everything, just like the old Commodore 64. There's been a lot of these kind of mini consoles that have come out, and Atari's got theirs just about to release. The thing is, and I've been kind of stalling over this because it just blows my mind, this thing's going to cost $850 in Australian money. This thing, it's called the Atari VCS again. The Atari VCS is more expensive than the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. You could get 2 Nintendo Switches for it. And it's just incredible. They advertise it on their website with a picture of somebody playing Pong. You can pay $850 for a console that's going to allow you to play Pong. Now, in fairness, this is meant to be a broader console than that. You're also meant to be able to use it for computing. It's got a lot of power under the hood. Atari is working with developers to add more games to it. I don't think it's going to be a successful console by any means, because it is so expensive. And the library of games that are on it right now are not exactly massively impressive. I mean, Atari certainly has history and heritage, and it is worth buying the Atari collections on other consoles when they come out, because a lot of Atari's games are a lot of fun. Pong itself is a lot of fun, but whether you want to spend 850 Australian dollars for Pong is quite another matter. I don't see where the value of this console is, but who knows, maybe at some point I'll get my hands on one and I'll let you know if it's actually better than it looks, or it is. But for now, I would probably recommend, if you are an Atari fan, just grab an Ambernic console and kind of load it up with your favourite Atari games, because there is a point where they're asking a bit much, and I think they're asking a bit much for this console. Okay, so next up we have some interesting news from Nintendo in Japan. Nintendo in Japan had a facility in Uji, which is a town that is quite close to Kyoto, and it was a manufacturing plant that they used to produce Hanafuda cards and playing cards and other things. Because remember, before Nintendo was a video game company, it was a company that focused on producing Hanafuda cards. That was its main business line. That facility closed, or they stopped doing that anyway, in 2016. And Nintendo's had this land and they haven't been sure what to do with it in the years since. They've come up with a solution now. They're going to turn it into an exhibition house, where you can go along and you can see all the products that the company has launched over its history. Now, those things are quite common in Japan. When I was a junior tech business writer, this is many years ago now, Panasonic actually flew me over to Japan to show off their exhibition house. Now, Panasonic has a very, very long history of its own. It used to be the national brand. It rebranded to Panasonic, and it has a very long heritage. So even though these things are they're very self-serving, they're a chance for the company to showcase how great they are to the people that would actually go to them, which are the kind of sycophants for the company. Even though it is all very patently chest-beating stuff, as a museum of sorts, a very commercial museum, these things are actually quite interesting to wander around, and I'm sure Nintendo's will be as well. I'm certainly going to check it out the next time I find myself in Uji. And you've got plenty of time for this pandemic to go away and for everybody to start travelling again before it'll be open. It won't be open until 2024. And I just recommend that you keep this one on your agenda, because on top of everything else, Uji itself is a gorgeous, gorgeous little town. It's one of my favourite places in Japan. It's an ancient town. It was actually right up there with Kyoto as having that kind of real importance politically and culturally to the Japanese people. The front of the 10 yen coin actually depicts a temple that you can go to in Uji as well. That's how important that temple is. And it's just a lovely place to visit. It's famous for its green tea, and you can get green tea ice cream and stuff there. And then you can go and check out this Nintendo plant and immerse yourself in the company's history. That's pretty cool, if you ask me. Okay, so we are staying in Japan for this next section. We are going to talk about an event that happened last weekend. OneFest 33. If you're a fan of your anime, manga, Vocaloids, pop culture, whatever from Japan, then you're almost certainly aware that there is this massive figures industry behind it. And we're not talking about pop vinyl, trashy $30 figures that you kind of buy and then wish you didn't because they just take up space. We are talking about immaculately carved sculptures that cost a fortune. I've got figures in my collection that cost me as much as $500, and I don't regret paying for them because you do get what you pay for with these things. They are incredible quality, and if you're a fan of the property, you couldn't ask for a better bit of fan service as such than having a shelf of figures from companies like Good Smile Company, which exhibit at OneFest. So OneFest happens twice a year, and we saw a whole bunch of figures that we're going to be spending money on over the next 12 months revealed at this year's event. The range was really good. There was everything from Kasumi from Persona 5, which I absolutely must have because I do love Kasumi. She was a reason to replay Persona 5 for 100 hours for the Royal Edition, where they added her into the game. There was also this really nice Fire Emblem figure. If you're into Fire Emblem, Marth is getting a figure, which is really nice looking. There was also figures that were announced for such a broad range, from Sakuna of Rice and Rain to Nier, from Genshin Impact to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and there was also a whole bunch of HoloLive stuff, so if you're into your virtual idols on YouTube, then there were a lot of figures that you could buy from there as well. There was also Nekopara and some kind of more niche stuff, although Nekopara, of course, is just an excuse to put catgirls in swimwear and to sell the figures for a premium, and I'm sure people will buy those. In fact, I probably will anyway. So that's the thing. These OneFests, people love to watch them on Twitter, see all the photos of the lovely figures being announced, and then count the damage that's done to its wallet this time around. There weren't too many Hatsune Miku figures, which usually kills my count, my tally, my wallet. But even without the Hatsune Miku figures, there was a lot there that I am really looking forward to. So if you are interested in checking them all out, then the best way to do so is just type OneFest33 into Twitter, and you'll see a stream of all the top figures that were announced over the weekend. So having mentioned Hatsune Miku, there was actually an interesting bit of news that came out of the creators of Miku, Krypton, this week, which I thought was worth mentioning. If you are a fan of Hatsune Miku and you like engaging with the creative side of the culture, i.e. if you like to draw fan art and make kind of, Miku Miku dance videos and whatever, there's always been something that has kind of inhibited your ability to do so, and that is the license on the character itself. So Miku's voice is actually, you can use commercially because it's a musical instrument. It's classed as a musical instrument, it's sold as a musical instrument. So you're actually free to use Miku's voice for whatever you want, whether that be your own personal kind of amateur projects, whether you want to make some commercial music. You can do so without a license. Miku's voice is totally free to use. But Hatsune Miku, the character, is another matter entirely. She's an art asset, and she's a mascot, and Krypton, the company, has been fairly protective of her over the years. They've certainly encouraged people to engage with the fandom, and when it's not commercial product, then they've not been too concerned about it. So that's why so many people can go to events cosplaying as Miku, and there's no criticism there. You can do your art, you can draw Miku freely and distribute it on PixIV and other kind of services without Krypton sending its lawyers in. So it has been fairly open by Japanese company standards, but it's always drawn the line at making money from it. So if you're going to make money from Miku's image, then you need to pay a license to do so. That actually changes as of, now. Krypton has announced that for the purposes of YouTube, you can use Miku's license and monetize the content. There are still rules about whether if you want to sell it in other ways, of course, but you can put ads on your Miku videos, and Krypton will not slap you down for using Miku's image, which is actually really good. There's an awful lot of videos that are on YouTube starring Hatsune Miku, and there's a lot of people that would like to make money from doing those video clips, and Krypton has wisely seen the value to the brand of encouraging people to do so, so they've opened the license up, and that's a very progressive thing for a Japanese company. Japanese companies are generally pretty protective of their IP. Krypton's always been quite progressive in that way, and this just continues that. It's good to see. So feel free to make those sexy Miku dance videos. So to finish things off this week, we are going to stick with the mascot thing, and we're going to talk about Samsung. Earlier this week, Samsung announced a new mascot for its virtual assistant software. This mascot's name is Sam. Sam for Samsung, very creative name there. And she is a rather attractive character, at least if you would believe the fans. She's certainly going to be one. Within days of Sam being unveiled, there is already all kinds of Rule 34 breaking stuff, or Rule 34 confirming stuff on Google. Don't search for it. It will give your sanity a hit. But yeah, she's certainly custom designed to be very popular and promote Samsung in the same way that Hatsune Miku promotes Vocaloid software. It really is that. I mean, Samsung would have seen how popular mascots were, decided they had to have a piece of the action themselves, and the result is Sam. Now, the thing is, I'm not a big fan of Sam. Sam looks like she comes directly from the Pixar or DreamWorks style of animation, and I get that that has been scientifically discovered to be popular. That's why Pixar and DreamWorks make so much money and they do that art style. It's because it sells. But to me, it just feels very homogenized, and Sam feels very blank, very empty, very lacking in character, because it seems like Sam's been designed to appeal to everybody. The more broad your appeal goes, the less individual the thing starts to seem. So that's really the issue with Sam. I've written about it on digitallydownloaded.net. I know there are a lot of fans of Sam out there, and certainly feel free to share your fandom with me. I'm not saying that you can't be a fan of Sam, it's just she doesn't do it for me, unfortunately. But it'll be interesting to see what Apple does with Siri. I'm sure Apple will have to come out with a Siri girl now, and that'll be fun. Speaking of mascots, actually, Microsoft has one. If you want to check out a really cute mascot, Microsoft's Windows 10 mascot is adorable for Japan. Not for the West, but yeah, how they promoted Windows 10 in Japan was just great. Anyway, that is enough for this video. We didn't talk about much video game stuff today, I know, but we are just before E3, and they're all holding their cards close to their chest at this point. We'll have a lot of news from video games over the next week or so, but for now it was kind of the lull before the storm. Anyway, do let me know your thoughts in the comments below on any of these topics or anything else you want to chat about. Let's have a free and open chat. Please do click the like and subscribe button if you enjoy my videos. That way you won't miss any, and I do upload plenty of them for you to enjoy. And if you do want to support what I'm doing, you can do so on Patreon. You can back me for as little as $1 a month, and in doing so you support all the writing I do on digitallydownloaded.net, all of these videos, and also I've got a magazine which is exclusive to Patreon backers. It's a 48-page digital magazine. You can even print them off if you want to, although you'll have to pay for that yourself. But it is really gorgeous. I put a lot of effort into it, and I like to think it's actually some good content. So yeah, thanks very much as always for tuning in. Have a good weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week.